The weight of stars. 3 tours in the unforgiving deserts of Kandahar had earned Staff Sergeant Elijah Eli Vance the Silver Star. But back home, in the deceptive calm of Willow Creek, Oregon, it took less than a week for his skin to make him a target. In the sterile, buzzing light of a grocery aisle, a lifetime of honor was about to be challenged by a man with a badge and a festering grievance. Eli just wanted to grab some oat milk and eggs. It was Wednesday, around 5:30 p.m., at a market right off Maplewood Drive. His earbuds were in, not playing music, just the hum of noise cancellation. His thumb scrolled a short list on his phone. He'd been stateside for 5 days, and his back still ached from the lumpy mattress at the VA hospital. He turned down the coffee aisle. That's when his training, honed in countless tense situations, kicked in. He identified the threat before his mind fully processed it. He didn't see cops. He saw a pincer movement, 2 uniformed figures sealing the front of the aisle. For more closing in from behind, 6 officers. Total overkill. "Hey, you!" A voice barked, sharp and loud. "Hands where I can see them. Now!" Eli looked up. The cop in front, Officer Brock Sterling, had his hand resting on his holstered weapon. His eyes were narrow, his jaw tight with smug certainty that set Eli's teeth on edge. A familiar voice in his head, cool and clear, took over. Asterisk, don't make a sudden move. They're looking for an excuse. Asterisk. He complied perfectly. He placed his phone on the shelf next to a bag of artisanal coffee beans. Then he slowly raised both hands, palms open and empty. "Officer, I think there's been a mistake. Turn around. Face the shelf." Sterling commanded. Stepping forward, Eli turned. The cold steel of the handcuffs bit into his wrists in under 10 seconds. They were tight, way too tight. The metal dug into his skin with punishing force. A hush fell over the aisle. A woman froze, clutching her purse to her chest. Near the deli section, a teenage boy, Lucas Chun, held his phone up, the small red light of its camera glowing. Someone whispered, "Oh my God, what did he do?" The answer came from Sterling, who was breathing heavily, high on the adrenaline of the takedown. "Matches a description of a robbery suspect out of Riverton last night." He said it loud enough for everyone to hear. Eli heard it, but the words didn't connect with reality. "I live 2 blocks from here," he said, his voice steady, his gaze fixed on the colorful coffee bags. "I just got back from a deployment in Kandahar 5 days ago. My wallet's in my back pocket. My military ID is inside." Sterling grunted, yanking Eli's wallet from his pocket. He flipped it open, saw the government-issued card, and scoffed. "Staff Sergeant." "Huh? Sure, buddy." He tossed the wallet along with the ID into a clear plastic evidence bag, as if it were trash. The march to the cruiser was a walk of shame under the harsh parking lot lights. Eli kept his eyes forward, but he could feel the stares of the onlookers. Some confused, some suspicious, a few with a quiet anger in their eyes. As Sterling shoved his head down to get into the back of the car, Eli caught a glimpse of his own reflection in the window. His jaw was a knot of granite. The exhaustion he'd felt moments before was gone. In its place, a cold, profound humiliation settled deep in his bones. At the precinct, he was fingerprinted, photographed, and processed like a common criminal. His arms, conditioned to hold a sniper rifle steady for hours, were now throbbing with angry red marks blooming around his wrists. "Can I make a phone call?" he asked the desk sergeant. "You get 1 call after we confirm the charges," she replied, her eyes never leaving her computer screen. He was led to a small, foul-smelling cell. There was no bench, no window, no clock, just concrete and cinder blocks. For the first time since his first tour, Eli felt the dizzying loss of control. He slid down the wall to the floor and closed his eyes. The memory hit him, sharp and vivid. He was back in Kandahar, perched in a dusty sniper nest, the stock of his rifle cool against his cheek. For 16 hours he'd waited, covered in sweat and grit, for the one shot that would save an entire convoy from a roadside bomb. There was no honor here, no mission, just a man alone, targeted because someone decided his face fit their idea of a criminal. He didn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., a guard ambled by, muttering something Eli didn't bother to hear. He just kept thinking of his mother, Esther, He was supposed to drive down and surprise her this weekend. He could hear her voice in his head, the same words she told him before every deployment. Asterisk, let your spine be straight and your voice be calm, son. Shame is a weight for them to carry, not you. Asterisk, he had stood tall, and this is where it got him. By morning, the bruises on his wrists had turned a dark, ugly purple. A new guard slid a paper plate through the slot in the door. It held a pile of dry, rubbery eggs and a slice of toast that looked like it had been used to clean the floor. No fork. Water? Eli asked. The guard ignored him and walked away. Later, they cuffed him again and led him to a small, gray interview room. Sterling was waiting in the hall. "Let's go, Vance," he said, his voice flat and bored now that the public spectacle was over. Inside, another man was waiting. He was older, with salt and pepper stubble and weary eyes that had seen it all. He introduced himself as Detective Arthur Reed. He opened a thin folder, looked at Eli, and got straight to it. "You're a Marine?" "Yes, I am." "Still active?" "Just finished my 3rd tour." Reed nodded slowly, his eyes holding Eli's. "Where'd you serve?" "Kandahar province, mostly out of FOB Phoenix and Observation Post Viper." "Damn," Reed muttered, leaning back. "You've seen some things." He slid a grainy photograph across the metal table. The suspect in the photo was a black man in a hoodie, but the similarities ended there. The man was shorter, heavier, with different facial features. "You think that looks like me?" Eli asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "Honestly," Reed said, rubbing his tired face, "not even close." But the arresting officer, Sterling, he said I was close enough to hold while they investigated. I told him who I was. I gave him my ID. "Yeah," Reed sighed. "That part's in his report." He paused. "Look, Vance, I'm putting in a recommendation to release you right now, but the paperwork, it's going to take a few hours. You'll be out by the end of the day." Eli stared at him, the silence stretching. "That's it. I read your file, son," Reed said, his voice low. "The citation's the Silver Star. You're a hero. For what it's worth, I'm sorry this happened." Eli leaned forward slightly. "Let me ask you a question, Detective," he said, his voice a low vibration. "Your apology and my military ID, what are they worth in here?" Hours later, the cell door opened. "You're being released," a sergeant announced, offering no apology. "It wasn't an arrest, just a detainment. Your record is clean." "Is anyone going to apologize for this detainment?" Eli asked, his voice sharp with contempt. She didn't answer. He walked out of the precinct into the harsh afternoon sun. A young man named Sam was waiting by the curb, holding Eli's phone. "I saw the video online," the kid said nervously. "Figured they wouldn't let you keep it, so I waited." Eli took the phone. "Thank you," he said, giving the kid a short, sharp nod. A small moment of connection in a world that felt alien. He walked away from the station, each step an effort, feeling like a stranger on his own country's soil. The storm was already raging online. By the time he reached his apartment, the TikTok video filmed by Lucas Chun had exploded. His caption was simple and devastating. Asterisk, this happened at the market right in Willow Creek. They arrested this man for matching a description, even after he showed them his military ID. Is this who we are now? Asterisk. The comments were a torrent of fury. Asterisk, he stayed so calm. That's discipline. Asterisk, they didn't even look at the ID. Asterisk, that's a Marine. Show some damn respect. Asterisk, it wasn't just outrage. It was the quiet dignity of the man being arrested that struck a nerve. People saw a hero being treated like a criminal, and it was unbearable. Miles away at Fort Liberty, Master Sergeant Marcus Thorne saw the video and froze. "That's Staff Sergeant Eli Vance," he told his bunkmate, his voice thick with disbelief. "He was my instructor, saved my entire team in Kandahar." Thorne didn't just share the video. He wrote a post on every veteran forum he knew, his words burning with loyalty. "I don't know what the Willow Creek PD calls this," he wrote, "but in the Marine Corps, we call it a damn disgrace." The post went nuclear. Within hours, it reached Colonel Ava Maxwell at SOCOM headquarters. She had handpicked Eli for the advanced sniper program and knew his character. She immediately forwarded the video and Thorne's post to the one person she knew would not let it stand, General Ethan Rhodes. The 4-star general didn't just know Eli's file. He remembered the quiet lance corporal who volunteered for every thankless duty. He remembered signing off on the recommendation for Eli's Silver Star. The general watched the video 3 times. Then he stood, walked to his office window, and spoke to his aide without turning around. "Give me the name of the presiding judge in Cedar County. Find out where Staff Sergeant Vance is, and cancel my entire schedule for Friday." Back in Willow Creek, Eli knew nothing of this. He sat on the edge of his tub, staring at the ugly purple bruises shackling his wrists. His phone buzzed. A voicemail from his mother, Esther. "Caleb, what in God's name happened? You call me now. Don't make me drive up there, because Lord knows I will embarrass every last person in that town." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. He finally watched the video. It was surreal. He saw the cold fury he'd felt, masked by a discipline drilled into his very bones. He was scrolling the comments when one stopped him. "Asterisk, my brother served with SS Vance. This man is a better American than all 6 of those cops combined. Fix this." Asterisk, he put the phone down. The ground was shifting beneath his feet. Friday morning, Eli arrived at the Cedar County Courthouse. A local veterans group had sent him clothes with a note. "Asterisk, we see you. We've got your 6. Asterisk, his public defender, Maya Singh, was furious. "I've read the file," she whispered. "It's garbage, and we're going to treat it like garbage." The heavy courtroom doors opened. Esther Vance walked in, her back ramrod straight, and gave her son a single, powerful nod. "Asterisk, I'm here." "Hold your head high." Asterisk, Eli's throat tightened. Moments later, Judge Clara Sterling, a woman known for her brutal impatience, swept into the room. She slapped the file on her bench. "All right, let's get this over with," she grumbled. "State of Oregon versus Elijah Vance." Judge Sterling glared down from her bench. "Mr. Vance, this report says you were detained without a warrant based on a flimsy description. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor," Eli replied, his voice steady. "And your military ID, confirming you are a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps, was presented at the scene?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Then why are we here?" the judge boomed. Before she could slam her gavel, the courtroom doors swung open. The room fell silent. A tall, powerfully built black man in a full-dress uniform entered, for stars glittering on each shoulder. It was General Ethan Rhodes. His presence alone commanded absolute authority. "Permission to address the court?" General Rhodes said, his quiet voice carrying the weight of command. Judge Sterling, momentarily stunned, nodded. "You may." The general turned to Eli. "Staff Sergeant Vance," he began, his voice cutting through the silence. "You are a recipient of the Silver Star. You represent the highest standards of the United States military." He then faced the judge, his gaze like steel. "Let me be clear, Your Honor. What happened to this Marine was a failure of character and respect, a failure that has embarrassed my command, and it will not stand." He stated flatly, "We are filing a formal complaint against the Willow Creek Police Department." Then he turned back to Eli, his voice softening almost imperceptibly. "On behalf of the United States Armed Forces, Staff Sergeant, I apologize." For the first time, Eli's shoulders relaxed. Judge Sterling exhaled, the fight gone from her. "This hearing is concluded," she declared, her gavel cracking down once. "Mr. Vance, you are free to go." She paused and added, "And on behalf of this court, I apologize." Days later, Eli stood in a high school auditorium. A student asked why he didn't snap. "I thought about it," Eli admitted, "but I realized I wasn't just wearing my own name that day. I was wearing the name of every young black man who wants to be seen for who he is. Every veteran who comes home and feels invisible." Another student stood. "Would you still serve?" "Yes," he said, "but I'd serve differently. I wouldn't confuse silence with strength. I'd speak up just like I'm doing now." The clip of that speech went viral. The narrative was no longer just about injustice. It was about dignity and a quiet warrior finding his voice. The floodgates broke. The police department issued a pathetic statement that nobody bought. Online, Officer Brock Sterling was identified, and his history of complaints was leaked. But the real justice wasn't delivered in a press release. Officer Brock Sterling was summoned to his captain's office. On the desk sat the formal complaint from the Department of Defense. "The mayor has called. The city council wants you gone," the captain said, his voice cold. "The news vans are already outside." Sterling stammered, "Sir, I was just—" "No," the captain cut him off. "You were arrogant, and you humiliated this department. This is your resignation." He slid a paper across the desk. "Sign it, or you'll be fired and face perjury charges. Your choice." Sterling stared at the paper, his face pale, the swagger gone. "Your badge and your weapon on the desk. Now." Slowly, his hands trembling, Brock Sterling unclipped the badge from his uniform. He unholstered his service weapon and laid them both on the polished wood of the captain's desk. The metallic clatter was the only sound in the room. It was the sound of a career ending, the sound of a bully being stripped of his power. It was the sound of justice.